Hey everyone, it's Zano here and welcome to a quick video about 10 mechanics that you should know when getting started with your very own TCG card shop. The new simulator game has taken the world by storm and I personally have been ridiculously addicted to playing it. I've reached the 60-day mark just after playing it for a week on a stream. However, as a game in early access, it does not explain all of its mechanics very clearly to the user. In this video, we will take some mechanics and tips that are not exactly straightforward or really explained in the game in its current state. Note that as the game is in early access, updates are constantly coming and some of what I'm going to tackle in this video may be changing in the future or may become explained by the game itself in the future if you're watching this, a couple months down the road. But without further ado, let's jump into tip number 1. You can pull items straight from the packing box, and this includes card packs using the right click button. This means that you do not need to place an item on the shelf to then pick it up in your hand and use it. You can rip packs straight from the packing box. I see a lot of streamers when I'm browsing on Twitch or other people talking in the Discord, and I see them constantly place things on the shelf and then take them off, put them in their hand to use. You can just hold down the right click button on a packing box itself to take that item out of the box. As a bonus tip, you can carry 8 packs in your hand or 8 singular cards. Every other item in the game you can only carry one of at a time. So packs and cards you can have up to 8, which means you can basically open 8 packs at a time or place 8 cards down at a time. Every other item is one and done, or you need a box to carry multiple of that item. Number 2, when buying furniture and displays for your shop, it is important to keep in mind that anything with glass is just for showcasing and will make any item placed on it not for sale. This is a way to display the crazy pulls that you wish to hold on to, and there's several different display cases. So it's very important that you don't accidentally buy a display case when you meant to buy a shelving unit or card display to actually sell items. Just keep in mind that if the piece of furniture has glass, it does not sell anything inside that display. It is purely for aesthetic, again, to show off those really cool pulls that you have. I currently have one in my shop with all my ghost cards that I've pulled so far. And while it's a cool mechanic, I have seen a few people and myself have accidentally bought a glass case thinking, oh, I'm going to sell cards out of this, and then realize later, oh, there's no price because this is only for display. Tip number 3, when stocking your single cards to be sold, you can first go to your binder by hitting R and then right click on up to 8 cards. You can then place those 8 cards to be sold on the card holders. This is significantly faster than left clicking an open spot, opening the binder, selecting the card, and placing it down. Stocking single cards is one of the most time-consuming tasks in the game, so speed is your friend here. A side note is that if you're holding any extra cards in your hand that you do not want to place down, simply hit R to return to your binder and your cards will go back into your collection. So this is another tip all about efficiency. I see lots of people go up to an empty card spot, click on it, pulls up the binder, they place the card down. That takes a lot of time. Just go to your binder beforehand, pick up 8 cards using the right click button, and then place them down. This will significantly speed up the process. Tip number 4, you can use the numbers on your keyboard, including the number pad, to enter in the digits into the credit card machine when a customer is paying by card. Well, this seems very trivial. If you type in those numbers, trust me, you're going to be checking out a lot of customers a lot faster. This becomes more important in the middle and late game, when you have a lot more customers in your shop and they're spending a lot of money and you need to be quick on those fingers. I've seen countless streamers, again, including myself, clicking the numbers in on the credit card machine. Once a viewer told me that I could just use my number pad, made a world of difference. Truly increases the speed tenfold. So try and use that keyboard if you can. Moving on to tip number 5, you do not need to give exact change. If you're as long as you're over the amount of change owed. So let's say that a customer is owed $19. If you simply hand them a $20 bill, they will walk away happily and take that extra dollar. Well, I don't recommend doing this in early game where kind of every dollar counts and you're scrapping for change. Later in the game when customers customers are normally spending $100-$200 plus, this will simply save time instead of driving yourself crazy to try and find that exact change. Can't tell you how many times I need to give a customer $19 or $39 back, and instead of, doing a 20, a 10, a 5, and 4 ones, I just give them 2 20s, give them the extra dollar back. It's not going to affect your bottom line when you're making that kind of money, and it speeds everything up. But just in general, if there's a long line and you want to speed things up, know that you can go over the change by up to $2. But obviously you can't short the customer, it won't let you. Moving on to tip number 6, you can press Q on a player's table to make them leave. This is especially useful when players are sitting around playing cards past closing time, as often you want to wait for them to get up as they'll buy a few things before they leave. For my first 40 days of gameplay, I would simply sit there, wait for them to leave so I can cash in on those extra dollars until viewer let me know that you can press Q on the table and the players will immediately stand up and either leave the store or go buy the stuff they want to buy and then leave the store. This will speed up the process, and you're no longer sitting around for 2 to 5 minutes just sitting there waiting for players in your store to finish playing their games at closing time. Moving on to tip number 7. The auto sprayers take 2 sprays to clean bad smelling customers. So it's often worth it to buy 2 auto sprayers with your first purchase and simply place them right next to each other at the entrance. Note that in a recent patch they added the auto scent T1000, which will clean customers in simply 1 spray, but all the other auto scent sprayers in the game, they take 2 sprays, and honestly it's not worth trying to get the customer to get sprayed twice by the auto sprayer. Just buy 2 of them, put them right next to each other. This will clean all the customers coming in. I recommend putting it right next to your door until you build up enough money to get that T1000, which will be hopefully a godsend once I'm able to unlock in. You can just have that 1 auto sprayer next to the door. But keep in mind, if you're looking to spend that big money, get your first auto sprayer. That 1 by itself is really not going to get the job done. You're still going to have to do a lot of manual work. You'll probably need 2 and put them side by side near your door. Moving on to tip number 8. If you have multiple checkout counters, customers will only line up at one of the counters if neither are manned. If one is manned by an employee customer, one of the AI, the customers will only line up there unless you are actually tied to the second counter when the customer enters the store and begins shopping. Then they'll randomly either go to yours or your employee's checkout line. This means that if you are using your phone or just standing near a checkout counter, no one will line up there. You actually have to enter the checkout kind of lock screen, if you know what I mean. And then once you're there, it's kind of like active. Now the game will tell those customers that they can go to that checkout line as well as your employee's checkout line. I've seen streamers, and then me myself was wondering why no one was coming to my checkout when I had 2 checkouts set up and they're just going to my employee. Turns out you actually have to be like locked in the screen, ready to scan things, and that will trigger the game to send customers there. So it's a little interesting, can be a little bit frustrating, but understand why it's currently a mechanic in the game. Moving to tip number 9, employees will leave at 9 p.m. sharp, however, arrive at 8 a.m. and will do tasks like restocking until you open the store. I highly recommend for that reason to do your ordering, stocking, and pack openings in the morning while time is frozen at 8 a.m. instead of when time is frozen at 9 p.m. This way, your employees are going to be helping with restocking the shelves, putting away all the things that you ordered and backlogged in your inventory room. It's just much more efficient to do it all in the morning when you have the employees help than try doing that stuff at night at 9 p.m. Of course, this is for middle and late game once you have employees. Lastly, tip number 10, and finally, a quick little explanation on the workbench. I think the workbench could be rather confusing as a first-time player, understanding what it does, especially do you want to spend that kind of money. So here it is. The workbench allows you to create bulk boxes of 100 cards that are all cards under $1 in your inventory. You can change the slider, and you can put the max price of a penny to $1 in terms of what's going to go into this bulk box. I just leave it on $1. I recommend you do the same. You can also select if you'd like to allow yourself to always have at least 1 copy of each card for your collection. So basically the game won't pull a specific card, even if it's worth under $1, if you only have one copy left. That way you still have one for your collection. Another thing to note about these bulk boxes is that Destiny and normal Tetramon boxes are separate, and the Destiny ones sell for about $5 more. But these bulk boxes, it's 100 low value cards you put in on the shelf. The normal Tetramon ones go for $10 to $12. The Destiny ones $15 to $18 I've seen. And it can be useful, but with the workbench costing $1,000, you have to sell a lot of these bulk boxes to even start turning a profit. So keep that in mind on if it's really worth it to make these bulk boxes. And now you kind of know what the workbench actually does in its current state. I imagine there'll be more features that utilize the workbench in future iterations of the game, but I think it's just important to note before you make that big $1,000 purchase, especially since you unlock it so early on when maybe you don't have a ton of money. And that's it. Hopefully you learned something helpful in this video to help run your store more efficiently and progress you through the game faster. That's going to be it for me. Until next time, we'll see you later.